Hamdi, it's an honor to share the stage with you and to have a conversation with you about the great work of Tent. Just for context, for those in the audience who aren't familiar with us, we are a coalition of more than 300 major companies that are committed to integrating refugees economically into their new communities, such as by hiring, training, and mentoring them. We're proud to count iconic brands like Pfizer, Hilton, Starbucks, PepsiCo among our coalition, and we're continuing to grow rapidly. Just this week,
and MasterCard.
And MasterCard. And just this week, we welcomed more companies like Michelin and Sanofi and the London Stock Exchange. So we are a vibrant, growing coalition. What we do at Tent specifically is to provide a range of very concrete support and services to companies to help them develop these programs to hire and integrate refugees. But I want to start by rewinding all the way to the beginning, to early 2016, when you launched Tent with just a few companies, including MasterCard. And this was at a time when you didn't hear a lot about companies being involved with refugees. And when you did, it typically was around a financial in-kind donation. And you had the conviction that that wasn't good enough, and you created Tent to change that. So take us through what you were thinking at the time.
So those are pre-Gideon times. I think it's the first time we're sharing the stage with my brother Gideon on an event like this. Like he said, you know, these ideas really come from your own experience, especially when you're in business. And when I started Chobani in upstate New York, it was an old factory where the big food just closed the factory and let go all the employees in that local community. And when I started, thank God, it worked out, and I hired back everybody, 55, 60, 100. And then later on, it's just geography get larger and larger, and it hit this town called Utica, where I used to live. And when we started hiring, I heard that there are people, refugees and settled in Utica, and they were having a hard time to find jobs. And this is 2008, 2009, another economic crisis time. And I went to Refugee Center, and I said, what is the problem? And they said, well, we have all these people from Asia and Africa and South America and refugees legally settled. They have right to work, but they can't get a job. And if you ask a couple of other questions, you find out things are very simple. It's either the language, they don't speak the language. They don't have driver license or car, or they don't have the training that job is available there. But then really what the problem is, unfamiliarity. I said, well, we're hiring, and we can get translators so we can solve that problem. We can get some cars and buses until they get their own cars. And we can do the training with the translators in the factory so we can solve that problem. Let's start. And people said, well, Hamdi, before you came to South Edmiston, the only foreigner was Frank, who's from Sicily, who has a pizza shop. And you're the second one, who's a guy from Turkey. You're going to bring all these people into here. Are you not worried? I said, no, why would I be worried? I'm still alive, so should be okay. And the reality is, when I got to know the people of South Edmiston and the team that worked in the plant, I was so sure that this is not only will be welcome, there will be some magic is going to happen in here. And that's exactly what happened. And I never thought that was a work for refugee Gideon. I thought it was just people in the community, they're looking for jobs. Chobani is open for everyone. Everyone should come and join his, and we'll figure this thing out together. It wasn't until 2016, 15, when this topic refugee became unfairly communicated on the political arena, that from completely disconnected from reality. And now you have hundreds of people in our plants that I call them my brothers and sisters, and I can't stay quiet when this is all happening. So we brought in some major media company to our plant and said, what is the problem? We are all same. We are making yogurt, putting food to our table and creating life. And what is this? And that created some kind of boycotts and all that kind of stuff, but at the same time, enormous amount of response from majority of people in the US. But it wasn't until 2016, I'll make it short, when I went to UNHCR in Geneva to see how I can help the Yazidi girls who got attacked in Syria and became refugees, and how can I help? And when I was there having a tour and having a conversation, realized that this issue's in millions everywhere. And the average life of refugees is 19 to 20 years in the camps or wherever they are stuck. And there's only a few companies that are involved, but when they're involved by monetary things. They just donate money, right? There's no sustainable solution to this. And I just made the connection and said, well, what happened to the lives of the people who joined me in the company? And basically, with a job, they started a new life, complete new life, and start being human again. It's like, really, you stop being refugee when the minute you have the job. That's the time that you stop refugee. And I say,
I'll just say that is our favorite Hamdi quote, that we use it almost every day to explain why it's so important for companies to hire refugees.
Yeah. Yeah, the minute the refugee has a job, that's the minute they start being a refugee. Okay, so now you come back, and I know what I want to do, but I have to have some companies to sign up, right? So that's the journey from first sign up. One of the first one to sign up was MasterCard. They actually hosted us. And that's why the Ajay's leadership, this MasterCard's consciousness to these issues very early on is a real thing. You hear it from me. And with MasterCard and a few other companies signing up, and that was 2016, we launched it with 4 companies. And this man is really the mastermind of taking that idea into making this mass scale place. And Gideon really, I mean, we had some success early on. Gideon was with Samantha Power, and then later on 10th on the Samantha Power, and then back to 10th. But the idea is always important, but how do you take that idea to make it scale and make it right is another thing. So under Gideon leadership, this idea became, handful companies to over 300 companies, and now is becoming something that you say, okay, there is something here that we can take it to the next level.
So Hamdi, I think we have 3 really core convictions at Tent that sort of animates what we do. The first is this idea that getting a job is the most critical milestone in a refugee's life. I think the second conviction we have is that companies' comparative advantage in this space, the way they can have the most impact, is by connecting refugees to work, not just donating money. And I think our third core conviction is the idea that when businesses do this, they actually benefit. So I'd like to hear your view, wearing your Chobani hat, as a company that's hired hundreds of refugees. What have you seen the business benefits to be?
So that's exactly right. So when we go, this is real. This is not a pitch. This is not a storytelling. This is real. When you bring this population to your work, I mean, you solve all these early, obstacles, which is most of them are simple. What you find is one of the most dedicated workforce you can ever have, right? And as an individual and enormously effective as a population, the company's culture completely changes, is affected by it. Because if you think about it, if you're a refugee, you're in the border of Poland and Ukraine, or you're in the border of, Venezuela and Colombia, or you're in the island in Lesbos in Greece, and people are crossing. What you see, you can look at from different glasses, but what you see is human spirit is in the highest level, really, right? The decisions that you make, the challenges that you go through, the losses that you have, but you don't give up. You don't give up. You move on for a new life, and you finally make it to some place. I'm ready to contribute. I'm ready to stand on my life and contribute to my family. I'm ready to contribute to where I feel home. And the minute a company opens its arms, which happened at Chobani, what you see, this energy that you cannot describe, literally. The papers and sheets and calculations, spreadsheets cannot calculate this, right? But there are things the team and Gideon team has done is what is the economic contribution of refugee in years when it comes to, profitability of business. In every dimension is shortest and highest contribution to the company. So this is really good business from all dimensions, right? But then there is the other dimension is how consumers is reacting when companies are acting in this way, and how talent is acting when the companies behave in this way. So then you see the talent wants to come and work for you, and the consumer wants to buy your products in almost every market. Do you want to talk about those studies that you guys do? And
yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've heard this from so many companies, and so then we've set out to prove it. And just to use a couple of data points, we did a study of companies hiring refugees in the US. They found in manufacturing, refugees had 3 times higher retention rates than other employees. We did consumer surveys in the US and Europe, and by a very, very wide margin, consumers said they would be more likely to buy from brands that hire refugees. Even among conservative consumers who understood that jobs actually are a path to integration, it means people are paying taxes. We did a study of German companies that had hired refugees, and 3/4 said that they actually hiring refugees made them more appealing to other German employees. People want to work at companies that are actually showing this sort of leadership.
Exactly. So basically, the economic case is done, and of course, humanitarian case is done. So this is a place where business can make enormous amount of effect. You know, the politics environment can go up and down, and I think this, through the companies and brands and the CEOs and founders, we have made some gains on brand refugees. And I think this is a critical moment to really double down, right? And continue to work. And that's why Gideon and team and us, we're expanding this work to south of our borders, we're expanding to Europe, and learning from the US market with the amazing companies leaning in, how is that response is happening from the consumers and talent and community, is expanding to other places. So the business solution to refugee topics is really the one that completely sustainable. Otherwise, what we're looking at this topic, and I'm not minimizing this effort, is heroic, is important, but really we are dealing with the topic refugee the way that we have dealt with it since World War II. It's the same thing. And it's a handout, it's tent, it's stuck, and that's it. And this is not acceptable. We shouldn't be accepting this. And business can make enormous amount of difference. And I'm so glad that that a lot of companies are joining. And I think what we do at Tent and what Gideon does and this amazing team is connecting the refugee population with the brands and companies and doing all the work in between and collaborating with all the companies together to share our learnings and create this amazing, community above and beyond the politics and work on this critical issue.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right, Hamdi. And just to say that I think the thing that maybe is most exciting to me is that for the longest time, we saw the way businesses got involved was highly cyclical. There'd be something in the headlines, companies would make a donation, and then within a few months, it would recede. But refugees were still there, they were still displaced. And by showing the business dividends, we're finally getting to a point where companies aren't just continuing, they're actually increasing their investment, even when the issue fades from the headlines, even with some political headwinds, even with economic cycles changing. And that for us is a game changer. We are nearing the end of time, so I wanted to close by asking you what you would tell to members of the audience who are no doubt very excited and compelled, and if they want to work with Tent, what would you tell them?
Well, I'll leave that to you to tell. So I tell Gideon he's my brother from South Africa. He's crazier than me. Maybe I'm a little crazy too, but he's a lot crazier than me. But imagining a two-person coming together, of course, there are others who involved with me, like Ruma Bose and Matthew Brown in early days that he helped me to start this. But imagine about smart, energetic, passionate few people coming together, which is Tent is, and we like to say now it's a little, not small, it's a little bigger, and stay focused and be consistent and stay on it. And adding into one-to-one, and I remember the early days in 2016, how many phone calls would it take, how many meetings would it take to a business to consider to commit hiring refugees and publicly announce that they did, which is, we really would love them to do that as well. To coming a place is the coolest thing to do, hire refugees and talk about it, right? It's really the coolest thing to do. And my recommendation is this is in the early days, and if you're an NGO, get involved. If you're in a business, please sign up. And if you are a noisemaker, make the noise. And I think this is every single one of our responsibility to remember millions of people, including Ukrainian women in Europe, Venezuelans in Colombia, Syrians in Jordan and Turkey and Lebanon and in Bangladesh, in Myanmar, in all over the world, that even the conflict ends, the way that how we are handling the global warming and climate will have hunger and famine and climate changes is going to affect a lot of. So the refugee topics is here to stay, but we have a business solution. So my ask is, let's get together as a business community. And if we do our work in a new way, but in a consistent, passionate way, we have a window of opportunity to unstuck millions of people and come and join the humanitarian family. So with that, I say, me, Gideon, Scarlett, Noni, everyone at Tent, we are at your service, and let's do this together.
I know that applause is supposed to signal that we leave, but I'm just going to add one more very quick pitch, which is if you're a business, contact us. We'd love to work with you. And if you are a foundation or a funder, we're at a point where, having done the really hard work of proving out our business model, we have wildly ambitious plans to take this to other countries, other places, expand. We'd love to talk with you as well. So thank you very much.